My dear respected brothers and elders, the greatest need right now for all the workers is for them to understand this effort and to have conviction on this effort, to have insight into this effort, and to truly have conviction on this effort. This is the greatest need of our time, that through this effort, if we have conviction that we will be nurtured through this effort and we will gain close proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this effort. If the workers do not have this conviction in their hearts that we will be nurtured and we will gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this effort, then whilst doing this effort, whilst being engaged in this effort, they will be looking for other means and other ways and other methods. So if the workers do not have firm conviction in this effort, that through this effort we will be nurtured and we will gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they will look for other ways and other methods and other efforts for their self-rectification. And this will be a source of deprivation for them. They will be deprived from this effort when the workers do not have firm conviction on this effort, and when they start looking for other means of self-rectification. And the reason for this is that when we first got into this effort, when we first were introduced to this effort, we used to make this effort, we used to engage in the effort of da'wah for our own benefit. When we were not inclined towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we had no fear of the hereafter, and we were not inclined towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we were introduced to this effort, so we were doing this effort for our own salvation, for our own rectification, for our own nurturing, spiritual nurturing. After that we progress in this effort of da'wat, and then the elders put in front of us the taqazas of the ummah, the needs of the ummah, of the nation, of the people, that we have to send jamaats here, there, etc. And so as we progress in this effort, we started progressing in this effort, we started striving out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making effort on others. Now all our efforts is for the rectification and for the benefit of others. Our intention has changed. So when the focus of the effort changes from oneself to others, then the luminosity and the blessings and the benediction which was in this effort and which were a means of a person's progress, a person gets deprived of this. For example, once upon a time, each salat and each namaz that was performed after performing gasht and after doing jawla, the salat was filled with the anwarat and the luminosity and the blessings and the benediction of the gasht that the person had performed. And there was a different flavor to that salat that the person would perform after having done gasht, after having done jawla, after having gone and met people, after having made an effort in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the salat that was performed thereafter, that had a special taste to it and a special flavor to it. That was once upon a time. But when a person has now, after progressing this effort, has now changed his focus from himself to the rectification of others, he has become deprived of these blessings. So now when a person became deprived of this, because, and the fault was his own, that he made intention for others, then he became deprived of the spiritual benefits of this effort of the Anbiya, effort of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when he became deprived of these benefits, now he started worrying, and now the workers started worrying that what do we need to do for our spiritual enlightenment and spiritual progress. And they started thinking that how will we be nurtured, how will we get spiritual upliftment, spiritual progress, what will become of our spirituality. So then they started looking at other efforts and other methods, other efforts, other methodologies of rectification of Islah. That we are doing this effort on other people, the other people are benefiting, but what about our own rectification and our own spiritual enlightenment and spiritual progress and our Islah, self-rectification? What do we need to do for this? And so they started seeking other efforts. The Molana Sahib says that in this I am telling you, I am trying to explain to you the fundamental cause of people, after having made an effort, after having spent time in the path of Allah, after having striven out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a fundamental cause of people giving up the effort of da'wah and engaging in other efforts. And this I am trying to explain to you, the fundamental and the general cause of people giving up this effort. So a person, when he makes effort on others and intention for others, he forgets himself, so his own spiritual rectification and progress stops, and so then he starts looking for other efforts. And also other people of other efforts have also explained this to you. Molana Sahib is saying to the workers that this is not just occurred in oneself, in the workers, that we need to find another effort, but also others have explained this to you as well. That people have said to us that this effort of Tablighi is well and good, you are doing this effort of Tablighi for the rectification of others and to bring others onto deen, but what about your own rectification? So because of these two causes, one's own weakness and because of other people's prompting us, the workers, the old workers and the people who are engaged in this effort, their conviction shifted away from this effort. Their conviction shifted away from this effort, that through this effort we will be rectified and the whole of the ummah will be rectified, and our spiritual upliftment and our spiritual enlightenment and our spiritual progress is in this effort. This moved away when these two things happen, because due to our own weakness and due to other people's prompting, we started losing conviction in this effort. So people started saying to us, and also we, because of our own weakness, started thinking that this work is to bring deen into the lives of others, and this effort is not enough for our own spiritual rectification and spiritual progress. And this was not just confined to the hearts, but this ideology also came transferred into speech, onto the lips, and onto the tongues of the workers. The workers started saying that this effort is not enough for us, this for our spiritual enlightenment and our spiritual progress, and our self-rectification, our Islah. That workers also started saying that this striving out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this making effort, this chalat pirat, this walking around, this moving around, this is not enough for our own spiritual rectification. We must find another path. And this has uprooted us, has made us slip up, and has made us lose conviction in this effort, and has drifted us away, taken us away from the essence of this effort. But the reality, my dear respected brothers, is that thousands of times people heard from Molana Ibrahim Dewla and Molana Ibrahim Dewla. Thousands of times this was repeated, and they heard many times that Molana used to, these Molanas, Molana Ilyasa, Molana Yusuf, Molana Ibrahim Dewla used to say that this work in itself is a wali gar, meaning it is a producer of walis. This effort in itself will produce walis, friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This effort is wali gar, wali banane wala, meaning this effort will produce and will make walis, friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever engages in this effort correctly, then he will become the friend of Allah. But the condition is one will become the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one will gain close proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The condition for that is that one must make this effort for one's own self-rectification. One must intend himself and not intend the rectification of others. So first condition is that one must intend himself. And the second thing is one must make this effort with the conviction of one's tarbiyah and one's nurturing. That one must have conviction that I will be nurtured spiritually through this effort. So this is the second condition. The first condition was that one must make intention for oneself that I am not doing this effort for the rectification and for the hidayat and the guidance of others. I am making this effort for myself. And the second is that one must have conviction that my spiritual nurturing, my progress will be through this effort. If I make this effort, Allah Ta'ala will nurture me, Allah Ta'ala will endow me with qualities and with sifat, and I will gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah Ta'ala will bless me with the tawfiq to practice upon the full deen. Then Maulana is saying that when thereafter, with these two conditions, when our gasht, our meeting people, our daily mashwara, our bayans, our going out in the path of Allah for 3 days, for 40 days, when we do not have these two conditions, when we are not abiding by these conditions, these two conditions, then, and we are making intention for the rectification of others, then our gash, our striving out in the path of Allah, our giving dawat, our making effort, when in making effort on others and in doing gash and in striving out in the path of Allah for 3 days, for 40 days, for long periods, and for doing bayan and all these efforts that we make, when in making that effort we start to make intention for the rectification of others, the first thing the first detrimental effect of this will be that when we are making gush and when we are meeting other people and when we are making effort, when we are doing bayan, when we are striving out in the path of Allah, but with the intention for the rectification of others, the first detrimental effect of this will be that we in ourselves will fail to benefit from this effort,